Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
I'm back. I am very sorry about the technical problems. Feed came to an end there again. I just think that we're just having some computer issues, honestly, around here and some internet issues. It's been a combination of things. I think that's really the problem. I don't think it's anything sinister like hacking or censoring or anything like that. Well, there is something going on with YouTube, but we are live over there right now. So it appears that we're up and running. Some of the other streams tonight were not on. I do apologize again. The feed got cut last night. The feed to YouTube was cut. I think that was YouTube. Anyway, it's been 3 nights in a row, and I apologize for the disruption, and I appreciate you guys coming back and joining me here on the program because we do have other things to talk about. So everything is a little bit disjointed. I'll try to navigate through the show tonight. My head space is a little bit off center just because of all the technical stuff that's been going on. So I'm not quite as well prepared as I was hoping I would be, but we do have stuff to talk about. We are going to talk about Trump's indictment. Pence is pouncing on Trump, actually. We'll get into that. Trudeau separating from his wife, divorce time. Aliens. Everybody's talking about the aliens. And I'm just gonna focus on tonight one aspect of it, one documentary from back in the 90s. I'm just gonna comment on it. You guys can chime in as well if you want, and then we're gonna go to the phones and get some calls so you guys can join in on the conversation. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get into the news of the day. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we'll start with Trudeau first, and he's, I guess, separating from his wife, Sophie. I don't think that it should be that much of a surprise to people, really. We've known that the marriage has been between Trudeau and Sophie Gregoire Trudeau has been unusual, to say the least. She was seen hanging out with that actor. What's his name? Isra Elba or something like that. He's a star, Hollywood type. So I don't know, man. What can I tell you that you probably haven't already heard? It's all over the place tonight. It is what it is, right? It's a relationship. His father got divorced. Now he's getting separated / divorced, I guess. Prime Minister's office just issuing a statement saying, as always, we remain a close family with deep love and respect for each other and for everything we have built and continue to build. And to me, it's I don't know how to react to it other than just to acknowledge it. I know that a lot of people are almost celebrating tonight. I think they just want to see Justin suffer, which I kind of understand. He's despised by so many people, loved by others, but despised by many. So there doesn't seem to be much sympathy for him out there. You know, he's he is absolutely among the privileged class. I hate to use that word these days because it has so many different sort of layers of meaning. But yeah, absolutely from the privileged class. Trophy wife, can't keep her. People making all kinds of comments on social media tonight, saying things like, if he can't keep his family together, how is he going to keep the country together? Things like that. I'm just acknowledging that that is out there. I think it's also, in a way, a reflection of what the country has become. Disjointed, divided. His marriage has been a metaphor, rocky, still together but apart. A family broken up, dysfunctional. His life has become a metaphor for Canada. Smashed. Kinda, but not entirely. But in his case, beyond repair. The question is, does the comparison extend to that degree? Can Canada be fixed? Hard to say. I fear not. Not in the way that would give us back the country that we once had. Because a country is more than just rocks and dirt and lakes and streams and trees and cities. It's people. And I submit that over the past 3 to 4 years, Canada, indeed the world, has changed, but especially this country. It's been plunged into a state of dysfunction and despair. The people have changed, polarized, divided, confused, victims of giant, unprecedented psychological operations, I would say, influenced in unprecedented ways by social media, television, mainstream media. People don't think the same. There's a lot less compassion and very little tolerance. Tolerance, that's what Canada was predicated upon for most of my life. It's how people managed to get along. It's what was taught, but not so much anymore. In fact, that word has pretty much evaporated, replaced with political correctness and transformative language, where the neoliberal woke crowd has hijacked words to redefine them, to further their political agenda. The weaponization of words. And that weaponization has been used in large part to attack family structure, traditional values, to promote alternative lifestyles, devalue morals and marriage. And so here we sit on this second day of August, 2023, and the Prime Minister of Canada has fallen victim to the very social engineering that he has subscribed to. Now, Justin Trudeau finds himself divorced, estranged from his wife, a man with kids that he will have to share custody with. He'll have to accommodate his wife. They say that they will soon even be on vacation again together. So perhaps they'll find a way to tolerate each other in their new arrangement. And who's to say, maybe they'll be much happier. But in the real world, people who end up divorced, separated, in dysfunctional families that fall apart, there are real stresses. Men paying alimony, often men losing everything, resenting it, being attacked really through the court system, being made to pay when sometimes they can't afford to, and sometimes not paying at all because they end up being deadbeat dads. There are all these issues of feminism, equality, sexual politics, parental rights, political correctness. Justin Trudeau, now on the receiving end of, as I say, social engineering his marriage on the rocks, asking for privacy in this time, apparently. And while Canadians, I think, generally are respecting that, only on the surface, because there's so many people out there tonight just, I hate to say it, but I think some people are actually celebrating. And I get it. I understand. They want to see the guy suffer. They want him punished for what he's done, for his policies on lockdowns, vaccinations, the economy. Even policies that affect families. I get it. Don't go away. We're going to take a real quick break. Then we're going to come back and talk about Gonzalo Lira. Then we're going to get into the Trump thing. Gonzalo Lira, that journalist, American citizen, arrested in Ukraine, journalist. They've tried to silence him. They threw him in jail. They let him out twice. He was on his way to Hungary. When we come back, I'll tell you what's happened to him.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So last night we showed you video of journalist Gonzalo Lira, who has been very critical of NATO, of the Zelensky regime in Ukraine. He's accused of being a pro-Russian operative, but now he's also being accused by some of being, well, at least one guy anyway, accusing him of being a Ukrainian agent. I'm not sure that I believe that. In fact, I don't think he is. That's my view. But I mean, who the heck knows, right? If somebody's going to be a secret agent, they don't go around saying, "I'm a secret agent." Who knows? I don't see any indication of that, though. He is, I think, a journalist. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and there is real value in a lot of what he has been presenting. Arrested by the Ukrainian government, then released, then arrested again about 9 weeks ago, was in jail for 9 weeks. They released him again. He posted 3 videos while he was apparently trying to escape. He was told to remain in the country. He had some sort of a tracking device, an ankle bracelet with a radio transmitter in it. I guess he managed to get it off somehow. And then he was making a run for the border. He was going to seek asylum in Hungary. Of course, in a lot of trouble because he was accused of essentially spreading Russian propaganda or whatever, which is illegal in Ukraine because he doesn't have any rights there. It's not a democracy right now. It is not a place where you get to have really any rights, no free speech there, not truly. The Zelensky regime has taken over television stations. They shut television stations down, media outlets down that were critical of what, they were doing. So the government said shutting up, silencing journalists over there, even their domestic journalists. And then Gonzalo Lira is right in Ukraine. He's been publishing online all kinds of material highly critical of the Zelensky regime. So they came and arrested him. And no subtlety about it. It's just like, you're saying things we don't like. We're censoring you. You're what you're doing is illegal. That's what's going on over there. So when he was in jail, he was told by some of the other prisoners that when they had let him out the last time, they said, "Dude, you should have left." They were telling you by letting you out, they were basically opening the door for you, saying, "Get out of the country." So it was Gonzalo Lira, his belief that he should probably leave. If he got out again, they let him out. See, his view was that by letting him out, they were really saying, "Go ahead, get out of the country, and then it'll be less hassle for us." Who the heck knows? Well, he made 3 videos, posted them on YouTube. He also posted a long thread on Twitter, which I'm having trouble finding tonight. I'm wondering if maybe that was taken down. But in any event, these videos are still up. We ran some of what he had to say last night on this program. Apparently, he's being arrested again. Now, I'm going to run a little bit from the 3rd and final video that he posted on YouTube as he was nearing the border to seek asylum in Hungary. So we'll just run a little bit of this, see if you can get a sense of where his headspace was at and what he was doing. And honestly, the fact that he was even posting these videos, I think, was kind of stupid, honestly. And to me, it makes no sense. Why would you do this? If you're trying to escape, why would you start posting on social media, which is going to tell the authorities right where you are, what you're doing? You give them the whole plan. You lay the thing out in a very public way. Duh. I thought Gonzalo Lira was a smart guy, but I'm beginning to wonder. Anyway, here he is.
That the smart thing was take my chances in terms of getting across the border.
Here we go.
And so I decided that the smart thing was take my chances in terms of getting across the border. Right now, I'm maybe 5 kilometers away from the border with Hungary. Over the last 2 days, I rode my bike just about 1,300 kilometers from Kharkov all the way here to the border. And my intention is to cross the border, get to Hungary, and in Hungary, I'm going to ask for political asylum. Now, why Hungary? And why ask for political asylum? Very simple. You see, when I don't show up at my court date on Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, there will be an arrest warrant issued for me. Now, of course, this arrest warrant, they will presume that I left the country, so it will become an international arrest warrant. Now, the European Union, which is allied with Ukraine to its perdition, as many of you know in terms of the European economies, well, the Europeans will comply with this international arrest warrant, and they will scoop me up at the first chance. And it won't matter that it's a free speech case. It won't matter. Nothing will matter except complying. If I were to go to Poland or Slovenia or Romania, all of these little gremlins of the EU, they're going to scoop me up instantly and return me to the graces of the SBU and the criminal justice system, and eventually I'll wind up in a prison labor camp. I'm hoping that Hungary, which has shown some independence insofar as these matters are concerned, of complying with idiotic EU regulations and diktats, I'm hoping that the authorities in Hungary will look at my indictment, realize that it has nothing to do with me being an actual bona fide criminal in terms of harming people or property, and it's really a strictly free speech issue, an issue of democratic speech. And I'm hoping that the Hungarian authorities will show some mercy, some understanding, and grant me this political asylum. That's my hope. By the way, I don't know anybody in Hungary. I've been to Budapest, once for a long weekend. It was lovely, but I don't know anybody in Hungary. I don't have any relations with Hungarians of any sort. I dated a Hungarian girl once years ago, but other than that, I don't have any connection to Hungary. And so I'm really going to be throwing myself at their mercy, hoping that they will see through this bullshit and realize that it's grossly unfair and it is just despicable. That's the only word I can think of. And so, yeah, that's my situation. And so as this video goes live, at the time that it goes live, I'm going to be crossing the border. And I'm going to be hoping that my name doesn't appear on any system and that I'll be allowed through. That's my hope. If my name is on some system, on some list that they have at the border, then I'll be arrested and it will be effectively a death sentence. And so I'm posting this video so that people know what happened to me if I really disappear. I'm certainly scared, sure, but fear doesn't really help the situation now, does it? You have to be clear. You have to be clear and you have to look at the options. And I've thought about this situation very, very carefully. And between the absolute certainty of going to a prison labor camp if I show up in court on Wednesday, and the slim chance that I might be able to cross the border, I'll take my chances. Some people might think that, oh, why don't you just sneak across some empty field or something like that? That's laughable, okay? But the obvious fact that, of course, if you sneak into Europe, across some field, right, Later they're going to ask you, well, how did you get into Europe? What's that all about? Where's your entry stamp? I mean, it causes all kinds of problems. Mm-hmm. I mean, I looked at the possibility, by the way. It's not as easy as you think. You think that it's just sneaking across some field. No, it's not, okay? First of all the access points between one country and the other are monitored, okay? And fairly easy. They just have motion detectors. And if anything moves, then the cameras go on and they know exactly what's going on, okay? So that's not an option. As opposed to going to Russia, Kharkov, after all, is 40 kilometers from Russia. It should have been easy, right? Well, no, because all that area is mined. And, both sides, though they're not fighting in that particular area, not yet, they know what's going on. They keep a close eye on that crossing. So you can't go through there. Another option that I was seriously considering was going to the front, going to the contact line, and thinking to myself, maybe there is some spot in the contact line that is being used by civilians, refugees, going back and forth. But that turned out to be a non-starter. I was surprised. I mean, the front is over 1,000 kilometers long, but there is no real spot where you can easily move, not without a guide, not without somebody who knows what they're doing. I also looked into the possibility of somebody helping me out. And a couple of them were grifters. It was clear as day, they wanted money. And the others, they had a lot of good intentions, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And so ultimately I was not able to find a Sherpa, a guide who could get me through. Mm-hmm. So that's my situation. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to chance it at the border. Mm-hmm. I'm posting this on both of my channels, the Roundtable and the Gonzalo Lira Again channel, which again, it's weird because, see, when they allowed me out on bail, last year, when they detained me, because they didn't formally arrest me, they detained me. Mm-hmm. When they detained me in April of 22, they took control of 2 of my Google accounts. The Google accounts that controlled my previous channels, my Coach Red Pill channel and my Gonzalo Lira channel. They never gave up that control of those accounts. I've never recovered those Gmail accounts and Google accounts that control those channels. But the Google account that controlled my current channel, Gonzalo Lira Again, and the Roundtable, they gave that back to me. Okay, so that further gives me the hope that they're just basically saying, go away. That's what I'm hoping. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I realize what they did. Mm-hmm. And I've outlined it to you in this video. And, I don't know what to say. So, you'll have to draw your own conclusions. Mm-hmm. By the way, during this past month that I've been free on bail, I obviously haven't been posting anything anywhere, just to keep a low profile and just to straighten out my head as to my options. I didn't want to be distracted with social media. Mm-hmm. I reached out to a few online people, but not all of the people that I know from the online world. Not because of anything in particular, but just, I wanted to get in touch with people who could, help me out in a practical way insofar as this current situation is concerned. Unfortunately, all the avenues that I tried, it came to nothing. And so this is the situation I'm in. Mm-hmm. It's, well, look. On February 27th or 28th, I think it was the 28th, I'm not sure, I forgot. February 27th, 28th of 2010, I lived through the Great Chilean Earthquake. It was an 8.8 earthquake. And I happened to be on the 15th floor. My apartment was on the 15th floor. And it was spectacular. My building moved around from side to side, like 3 meters off axis one way and 1.5 meters roughly on the other, and this elliptical swinging around. And I thought that the building was going to collapse and I was going to die. And of course it didn't, thank goodness. But that was the moment that I learned fatalism. But there are some things that are simply beyond your control, and you have to live through them. And you have to just go forward. And there's nothing you can do. Everything is beyond your control. And we fool ourselves thinking that we can control everything. And that causes so much anguish for no reason. We worry, we think this, that, the other. But you have to recognize when you have actual control over some situation and when that control is beyond you. And there is absolutely nothing that you can do. Nothing that you can do except move forward. So either I will cross the border into Hungary in the next couple of hours, or I will be arrested again, and God knows what will happen to me. So if I post again here on the video and on Twitter, then you know that I made it. And if I don't, then you know that I didn't. And I would ask you humbly that if you don't hear from me again, anybody and everybody who's watching this video, please raise a ruckus, raise a fuss. Because ultimately, as you can see in the indictment that I posted on Twitter, all of the pages are there. You can read it for yourself in Ukrainian and in English. The charges against me are just because of my opinion about this conflict. I did no harm to anyone. And they arrested me because they wanted to have on the nightly news a short little video of how they are fighting the propagandists. That's it. That's why they arrested me. The extortion stuff that I discussed, that happened later when they realized that I wasn't a poor schmuck. But the start of the genesis of this whole situation is because I had an opinion that went against the narrative. And that's why I went to prison. And that's why, if I'm arrested again, I will die in prison. So I ask you, please, as many people as possible, the American State Department knows exactly who I am and the situation I'm currently involved in. And they know the fate that awaits me. They know it. They have that saying that, I forget the wording exactly. I'm a little stressed out, as you can imagine, but they have that saying that people are fundamentally good, but for evil to triumph, all you need is the indifference of good people. Please don't be indifferent to my fate. I ask you this very humbly. Please recognize that, the literal death that awaits me if this doesn't work out. Understand what's going on.
He has not posted since. We do have reports tonight that Gonzalo Lira was indeed captured and taken into custody again. However, we do not have confirmation. We have this. Let me bring this up. We have social media reports, streamers, people who say they know that he has been detained again. Here we go. This is Jimmy Falk. Let me bring up his clip. Posting online. Here's what he has to say.
Just a quick update of all the reports I didn't want to give you. This is one of them. I have 3 different sources, and I wish they weren't correct, but I fear they are. As always, my sources are damn accurate. Gonzalo Lira has been captured on the Ukrainian side of the border. He has not made it to safety in Hungary or Serbia, which he really should have done. Hopefully, he should have gone to Serbia rather than Hungary. There is no doubt whatsoever that the Ukrainians were desperate to recapture him and to take him back for trial for saying nothing more than disagreeing with what Ukraine have been doing and putting him on trial. This could cost him his life. It is sad that he didn't manage to escape. There were many, many options. Making videos and tweeting about it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Get to safety and then let people know. I fear for his safety, as does anybody who has a right to free, independent thinking and the right to voice a protest. Now, you don't have a right to violent protest. You have a right to protest with your voice, and you have a right to protest when you think something is wrong. When a government agency shuts you up, kills you, charges you, and puts you in prison, as they did with Julian Assange, and as now they're going to do with Gonzalo Lira, you know something is fundamentally wrong with that government. Journalists are there to hold people to account, and more these days, we know that the same people that get the government elected, because they won't say anything because the press would slaughter them, are the same people who are now running the media. And when the largest corporations in the world have control over the most powerful tool in the world, we have to fear for everybody's safety, especially brave journalists who come out and say what they're saying. It is a particularly sad day because I was hoping that he might make it to safety. But as I say, I've had 3 confirmed reports from people I trust implicitly.
And on the U.S. side of the equation, it's pretty much radio silence. They know what's going on, and they have done nothing to intervene. So it doesn't look good at all for Gonzalo Lira. Dangerous business, journalism these days, especially for journalists working in Ukraine. And they still have that death list, that hit list for journalists, political activists, and artists online. Maretrovets is the name of it, and I'm probably not pronouncing it quite as I should. But that's the name of the website, and the Ukrainian government has let it remain up. Even Roger Waters is on there. A long list of journalists identified, targeted, and some of the people on the list have actually been killed. Gonzalo Lira, now back in custody. And as he indicated in those videos, we ran this last night, he has a heart condition, doesn't expect, he will survive whatever sentence they pass. If he's in jail any length of time, he feels he won't be able to survive it. And it appears he may be facing an actual death sentence, all because he spoke his mind, provided his opinion, did his job as a journalist. You know, he wasn't hacking anyone. He wasn't stealing anything. And as far as I know, he was simply writing, posting online, posting videos. He was active on Twitter, opining on the war in Ukraine. And his position was not favorable toward Ukraine at all. And that's where he was. Again, I don't think it was smart either for him to post those things online before he left the country. If those were live, that was not smart at all. Now, if he recorded them, uploaded them, and then scheduled them for later release, maybe. But even then, you know that they probably have access to your account. And if you upload something to fire later, a scheduled video, if they're monitoring your account, they're probably going to see that in advance anyway. It's doing what he did was almost like saying, hey, come arrest me. It makes no sense to me what he did there. Also, it makes no sense that he would try to cross the border the way that he did. He had an ankle radio transmitter on his ankle so they could track him. He managed to get it off. If they're going to that length, if they're going to that extreme to track you, then obviously they're going to have some sort of record of you on a computer when you get to the border. So that's not going to work. And I guess he was facing limited options as he tried to escape Ukraine. Tonight, it doesn't look like he was successful. Now, I'm not in his shoes, and obviously he spent a considerable amount of time evaluating, planning, strategizing, trying to figure out how the heck he could get out of that country and get back to safety. That's what he decided to do. I think I probably would have rather taken my chances with the minefield, honestly. And to me, I think in his case, Russia was probably the place you wanted to go. If you could get there or get through another country and then make your way to Russia. What he did, I don't think it was the smartest move, but who am I to second guess him in his situation, his life, his risks, his decisions. And it was so risky for him to do what he was doing. He was in Ukraine writing what he was writing, basically getting right up in the face journalistically of the government there, knowing full well that there is no free speech, no free media in Ukraine right now. Democracy has been shut down, no elections. And they're telling us that we are supporting a war to preserve democracy, not just in Ukraine, but around the world, fighting for democracy. That's not democracy. That's not a free society. Indeed, that's why we started the petition that we started online at maverickpetitions.com to put pressure on our governments here, to put pressure on the Ukrainian government to take down that hit list, which has a complete inventory of journalists, activists, and artists that the government doesn't like. Even though it's not an official government website, it's basically anybody that is critical of the Zelensky regime in Ukraine. If you are so inclined, go to that website, go to maverickpetitions.com and read it. And if you agree with what is there, where we're trying to preserve free speech, add your signature. Let me see if I still have that banner here. Right there. Go to maverickpetitions.com. You should also be able to access that same petition online at our website at mavericknews.ca. There should be a link right there on one of the, I think, the main page, and that'll take you over to the petition page. You can add your signature, and when we get enough, we will present that to the political powers in both Canada and the United States, and it calls on the governments of Canada and the U.S. to put pressure on the Zelensky regime to basically back off on journalists and take down that hit list. And maybe we'll have to look at starting another petition specifically for Gonzalo Lira, but that petition in itself also encompasses his particular situation. This is what it's all about. And here's another one. Another journalist being thrown in jail again. And this time, it appears probably for good. I will return. Don't go away.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so let's talk about, let's take a look at what's going on with Trump. So this is really more about Pence than Trump. Trump again indicted. They're going after him all because of the J6 thing. And former president, vice president rather, Mike Pence, is weighing in on this in a more extensive way. He's saying that he had hoped the issue and the judgment of the president's actions that day would be left to the American people rather than the legal system, but he also offered some of his strongest condemnation yet of Trump's actions, his rhetoric, his decisions surrounding the January 6th event in the Capitol. He was speaking today at the Indiana State Fair in Indianapolis, and he said, sadly, and this is his words, these are his words, sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear, he said, Pence said. And while I made my case to him with what I understood my oath of the Constitution to require, the president ultimately continued to demand that I choose him over the Constitution. So it's pretty clear that the key to this indictment, they're going to lean heavily, it looks like, on Pence to probably testify against Trump, his former boss. Since leaving office, Pence has obviously become increasingly critical of the former president. At least in this respect, Trump's insistence that he had the authority to reject the Electoral College results during that joint session of Congress back in 2021. And Pence says that he did not have that authority or power, and that is hotly debated even now. You know, the challenges on every level, at every turn that came from Trump regarding, the election were rejected. The legal challenges were never heard. Dismissed on technicalities or whatever, however you want to look at it, it was rejected. And then, in the view of some, Pence didn't step up and support the president, didn't do what Trump wanted him or needed him to do. It depends on your point of view on this, I guess. And there are legal opinions. Ultimately, this is what Pence had to say today in this interview. Of course, take this with a grain of salt coming from CNN. But this is him interviewed while he was in Indiana, I believe.
On this point, it wasn't just that they asked for a pause. The president specifically asked me, and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers asked me to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, and literally chaos would have ensued.
So there's that. And then we also have him saying this. Here we are. I believe this is a different clip. And this is important because, as I say, the case against Trump, it appears, is going to hinge on this guy right here, the former vice president, Trump's former right-hand man.
Irrespective of the indictment, I want the American people to know that I had no right to overturn the election. And then on that day, President Trump asked me to put him over the Constitution, but I chose the Constitution, and I always will. And I really do believe that anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And anyone who asks someone else to put themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States again. I've been very forthright about this issue, and I'll continue to be. Now, with regard to the substance of the indictment, I've been very clear. I had hoped it wouldn't come to this. I had hoped that this issue and the judgment of the president's actions that day would be left to the American people. But now it's been brought in a criminal indictment, and I can't assess whether or not the government has the evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt what they assert in the indictment. And the president's entitled to a presumption of innocence. But for my part, I want people to know that I had no right to overturn the election. And that what the president maintained that day, and frankly has said over and over again over the last 2.5 years, is completely false. And it's contrary to what our Constitution and the laws of this country provide. I'm a student of American history. And the first time I heard in early December somebody suggest that as vice president, I might be able to decide which votes to reject and which to accept, I knew that it was false. Our founders had just won a war against a king. And the last thing they would have done was vest unilateral authority in any one person to decide who would be the next president. I dismissed it out of hand. Sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear. And while I made my case to him of what I understood my oath to the Constitution to require, the president ultimately, continued to demand that I choose him over the Constitution. So
So there's Mike Pence's position on that, and he is still struggling to generate enough support to be able to participate in the first upcoming GOP leadership debate. He still doesn't have enough individual donors to qualify for participation in that debate. Now, his campaign team tonight is saying that they expect he will have enough, that he will be participating in that debate. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I don't think he stands a chance of getting the nomination. But politics is a strange thing. And things can shift very, very quickly on the political scene depending on what information comes out, what happens in the news cycles, and what happens in court. Is this going to hurt Trump? Not right now. All of these indictments, the legal warfare, the lawfare that they've leveled at him, it's all helping him, I think, to this point. But there's something different that I sense in what is happening right now with this. It feels a little bit different than all of the stuff that has come before. I could be wrong. Maybe my spidey sense is off a little bit. Maybe I'll feel differently about it tomorrow. I can't point to anything specific other than what we're getting from Pence tonight. That also, the tone feels more assertive, more confident coming from Pence. And I don't think that's good for Trump for the first time. Every other time this has happened, I've viewed it as being neutral to positive for Donald Trump because it keeps him at the top of the news cycle. It keeps his name out there. Everybody keeps talking about him, and it also makes him a victim. So his base of support solidifies. They rally behind him because they see that he is under attack. And by extension, his supporters feel that they are under attack. But somehow this feels different. I can't quite put my finger on it, except that maybe I can't quite get it. This feels, I guess, more real than anything that has come before. And, there has not been as much fanfare around this indictment as far as I've seen. Remember the last time? It was like live coverage. Everybody was just waiting for him to show up at the courthouse, right? And the big procession comes along and everybody was, in a frenzy over it. Well, at this point so far, this hasn't had that same mania surrounding it because there's been less fanfare, a little bit less coverage. And I think these charges are in a way more serious charges, less showbiz. I don't think it's good for Trump. A little bit of erosion there in his support. Bad enough that his former vice president has essentially turned on him, right? That they've parted ways. Now Pence is attacking him in this way. And this doesn't feel like campaign talk coming from Pence. That's not what it feels like to me. This is just straight up response to the situation. Doesn't feel like he's trying to score political points here. I think that's also why it feels a little bit different. You look at the verbal sparring that's going on between Trump and DeSantis. That's all politics. That's all going to go away after the nominee is picked or elected. But this stuff, this isn't just straight politics. There's more here. There's more going on. And the reference to the crackpot lawyers. I know there was at least one in there that maybe wasn't giving the best legal advice to Trump. At least one. Maybe there were others. But when you're pushed into a corner like he was, and we all kind of saw what was going on, it was pretty apparent to me that some things were being cooked, right? For lack of a better phrase. We have to be careful what we say here on YouTube. lest we get our feed cut again and videos deleted. Being very careful here, but you know, I think maybe some truth on both sides, but when you can see that there's clearly some truth, real truth, that then led to other events, including the J6 incident. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? Okay, enough of that. Let's take another brief break. And, well, you know what? There's one other thing. No. It's okay. That was for the other story. All right. When we come back, we'll dig into some of this UFO stuff. It's enough to drive you crazy when you don't really know what's real and what isn't anymore. And when the government is telling you, it's real. No, it's not real. No, it's real. It's not. Now it is. No, it isn't. My goodness. We don't know whether we're coming or going anymore. But I will be right back. So don't go away.
Hello, world. Are you awake? Uniting humankind by liberating millions of minds at a time. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. And you know, I get a lot of messages. I'm in different groups on Facebook. And I just wanted to say, you know, when we first got into the lockdowns and things, right? The biggest concern for me, this is a little bit of my personal story, and it'll reflect on, I think, what a lot of you probably went through, maybe everybody, because I certainly wasn't alone in this, but just to sort of, and I'm just looking for some material here on my phone that came in overnight. You know, it's like when the lockdowns first started, for me, it was all about personal rights, individual rights and freedoms. And we could see the erosion of that in our society. And this is going to the UFOs. It was a real, I mean, for me, it was everything, right? Because this was a direct assault on individual liberties, individual freedoms, just freedom to even go visit loved ones. Our ability, our freedom to just go into a place of business was being restricted. It was affecting every aspect of our lives. Freedom of movement, just the freedom to just be. And I felt that we had to do something. So of course I was active, you know, I was all in on putting pressure on the government through protest or any other legal, lawful, peaceful means to facilitate change and get the government to shift its position on these things and end mandates and restore our rights, whether they be in the US or Canada. But in Canada, our charter rights, which they did an end run around in order to make, I guess, people seem to feel like you feel because they're doing it to in safety. Gonna keep you all safe by taking away your rights. It was not cool. And it was very authoritarian. And Justin Trudeau at the time, he used it politically as a wedge issue in Canada. I think it was also used that way in the US. It affected our public health systems. Anyway, that was the issue, and that was what the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, was about as well. It was all about the mandates. It was about individual rights and freedoms as they related specifically to the mandates. People were upset at that time. They were fed up. They'd been locked down for a long time. A lot of people had lost their jobs, truckers, a lot of them, if they were crossing the border, the vaccination mandates, that was the issue at the time, the mandatory vaccinations. And they were opposed to it. And that's what largely it was all about. That was the main focus of the convoy. That was what the protesters wanted to speak to the prime minister and the politicians and the bureaucrats about. And as a result of the convoy, we saw, I think, that those mandates were lifted in many areas and they started to come off. And it was because of that protest that we saw restoration, backtracking by the government and restoration of some of our rights on some level. But things have never gone back completely the way that they were. But since then, I don't know if you've noticed, but the focus of freedom fighters, the freedom movement, the public in general, it's all shifted. It has changed. It's no longer really sort of about that. That's there, but it seems like people are not as concerned about it. And I think it's because some of that has waned. It's not as prominent in our daily lives and people are not as concerned about it. So now you have these other issues, right? Whether it's drag queen story time, LGBTQ plus issues, whether it's some people thinking that, there are sinister things going on with all these wildfires or, pick your issue. Pick your issue. There's a whole bunch of them and a lot of other things going on that people are all focused on now. And it's all about, at every turn, whether it's chemtrails or whether it's, some sort of climate control thing or now even aliens. And I bring that up because it's like all of these hot button issues are being used, I think, I can clearly see being used by different organizations, individuals, people, sometimes not even on the same side, but these issues are being thrown at you. You're keeping these issues front and center for people. And I'm getting, like overnight, a freedom group that I'm part of posting. And I just noticed it was like everything in this, all the posts over the past number of weeks, it's all like Illuminati. It's all about alien stuff, tons of alien stuff now filtering in there. Not anything. There's nothing in there from any of the people posting in this group about constitutional rights per se. Nothing to do with, mandatory vaccinations. Nothing to do with the fact that in Canada, for instance, if you need a heart transplant and you're not vaccinated, they won't give you the transplant. They will let you die. That is a fact. Not, I hear about that still sometimes, occasionally, but nothing about any of that kind of stuff anymore that was posted by this group. I won't even tell you which group because I don't really want to single them out. But it's just a complete shift in focus. Makes me think people are just being distracted. And now we've seen over the past couple of weeks, in particular with these congressional hearings into UFOs, and we had the spy balloons thing. And then last night, Craig Jardula, podcaster, live streamer, political analyst, pundit on the show. I asked him just kind of out of the blue, and it was a sidebar issue. I said, what are you making? What do you make of all of this UFO talk and these hearings? Like, that look very official. And you have that David Grush, former intelligence agent, who has been testifying, say, "Oh yeah, it's very real. I've had all this. There've been all these aliens out there, and it's a real thing, and people have told me, and it's true." And he's sitting there and looking very credible and sharing information in a way that is very believable. And I think people are believing him. And members of Congress are sitting there and they're soaking all this up. And we've seen 2 naval pilots, former naval pilots, sit there alongside Mr. Grush and talk about their encounters with UAP. All this going on. And yet, I said the other night, we are still no closer to knowing what the truth is, which makes me wonder how truthful any of these people testifying are actually being. And the naval pilots, I find them very credible, but nothing that they've seen or identified has been conclusively identified either. So it's still a mystery. All the videos basically that we've seen have been still, little dots of light, blurry images. And I said, if there are real aliens, real UFOs, show me. Just where's the photograph? A nice, clear photograph in a aircraft hangar or a bunker someplace where they've got this thing. Show me. Nothing. There's nothing. Well, there hasn't been anything anyway until now. Or actually there has been, but it's supposed to be now. And then, I like these folks at Redacted, right? I like the show. I like Clayton and Natalie. I watch them sometimes, but he's gone heavy and hard on the UFO stuff. Well, in the last week or so, Clayton, here it is here. Here's one of many videos that they have done on UFOs, and they are getting a lot of views on this stuff, okay? This one in particular, it's got a lot of views. And it was presented, Clayton. I like you, Clayton. You're a good guy. I like your show. But he said this is sort of like an exclusive interview with Jon Stewart, former wrestling star and politician, who has been, I guess, investigating this video of an alien from over the past 20 years to verify its authenticity. And so here's Jon Stewart on this show talking about this. And I watched this and I vaguely remembered it. And this video was first released. It's not new. This is not exclusive. This is from the early 90s. Apparently, it was shot in the early 90s. Then it was released. And I sort of remember this going on the air on television in this sort of a documentary thing around 1997. So they've recycled this footage. They've brought it back up. Jon Stewart is out there doing interviews. And this isn't even the first interview that he has done. But here's this video. I'll just run a little bit of this for you. And you can make your own assessment. I'm going to give you my professional and I'm going to say expert analysis of this because my qualifications in this regard are every bit as sound as the experts that weighed in on this back in the 90s in the documentary where this was actually shown for the first time. Now, this is from the redacted episode from about a week ago. I think it was maybe 9 days ago.
To monitor this bizarre heart-lung one-sac organ that the alien has. And behind the viewing glass were 5 men, 2 telepaths. There is a researcher out there, and I don't doubt it. And because I've seen the outline of the figure, and I didn't catch this, and someone else did, so I'm crediting them. I don't ever want to not credit other people. That Colin Powell was in that interview room. Now, I know that sounds crazy. I can't verify it, but it certainly looks like the outline of him. It looks like an African American male in his 50s wearing an Army Class A dress uniform. Funny, the Rear Admiral that was on my list was the person that reported intelligence to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Interesting. But that's how bizarre this film has gotten. And I'm not even going to tell you anything about the telepaths because I don't want it to get into the Da Vinci Code. But even Doty said that the telepathic program, the people they hired, was ridiculous. They were like one step above 1-800 psychics back in the 80s and 90s. But there was 2 men in particular that were very in touch with these beings, and they would sit down with these aliens and these beings and immediately get information and relate it back to whatever military person was in the room. As you can see on the tape, the being eventually starts to medically flag, if I can use the whistleblower Victor's terminology, and he is then attended to by the medical staff. And Victor tells us that the medical staff in S2 and S4, are more chosen for their ability to keep secrets than their medical knowledge. And again, I have been in contact. I have the names of the 2 doctors that are going to be on either side of this beam. On the bottom, you're going to see DNI/27. That is the Department of Naval Intelligence. According to Richard Doty, there's like a conga line of different agencies waiting to insert their questions to this being in the 2-hour-long interview. The interviews are conducted about once a month.
What did you start to piece together from people who were in the room? And so when we say hoaxed video, I think you're saying that was what the assumption you had going into this, that this was hoax. That was sort of the media speculation about this. Now you've proven and taken it to the United States Congress, which, by the way, they're about to hold a hearing on this next week. And I think that this is, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be a big piece of this. And other whistleblowers are now confirmed to be coming forward to Congress next week. Civilian whistleblowers who are going to be testifying of the things that they've been a part of and seen. So talk about the people that you started, the witnesses who were in the room with this creature, and how you started to verify the veracity of this film.
It was during COVID, and for the first time of my life, and I don't say this proudly because I'm a type A workaholic, I had time off that wasn't due to vacation or injury back in my wrestling days. And it just, I'm not saying I was visited, I heard voices, but it's just something my conscience said, you got some time now. Go figure out that film. Figure something out. I want everyone to know, Clayton, I did not come at this film. It was a hoax. Was it real? I just wanted to find the truth. And that is my credibility, that I didn't push.
FTX.
Okay, so I'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
That video was part of a documentary that was released back in 1997. Nothing new about that. That's old. I kind of remember it. And you can find that online. It is the original documentary It is called Area 51, The Alien Interview. Here's the IMDb page for that movie. A documentary about aliens and UFOs. Here it is. Documentary about aliens and UFOs with reenactments of alien interviews and video of a supposedly real video of an alien being interviewed by government officials. The director was Jeff Broadstreet. The writer was Robert Benson. It starred Stephen Williams, Bob Lazar, and Sean David Morton. It was pretty entertaining. Sort of a super low budget, shot on video documentary. I don't think it was shot on film. In fact, I know it wasn't. It was shot on video. And the guy who provided apparently that footage of the real interview with the alien, his name was supposed to be Victor. He didn't want to reveal his identity. So even in the documentary itself, okay, they interview this guy. And the interview itself actually comes off as being sort of hostile. Here it is here. Now you can, if you want to believe that it's real, I mean, you're welcome to, but they did this interview with Victor, the guy who provided the film, or actually it wasn't film, it was videotape of the real interview with the alien, not a reenactment. This is Victor here. He's got sunglasses on. They shoot him in silhouette, so you can't really see his face too clearly. I remember this from back in the day. Area 51, the alien interview. And then they take his voice and they sort of disguise it by changing the pitch, the tone of his voice.
If something happens to me, if I die, people will know who I am.
Do you think it's a reassuring sign that these aliens can communicate with us on a spiritual plane?
It would be nice to think so, but I'm not sure if it's really such an achievement considering the mismatch between our intellects. I mean, you're not going to have much luck making your dog understand calculus, but if you pet him on the head and say, "Good dog," aren't you communicating spiritually?
So they were saying that the interview is conducted telepathically, and they had empaths or people who could communicate that way with the aliens at the time, because there was no verbal communication with the alien. So here's the actual footage. Okay, so we're going to analyze this together. I'm going to give you, and I am qualified, I can assure you, to make an assessment of this because I have training. I have I'm just as qualified to comment on this as an expert as the guy in this documentary. There is a guy who looks at the footage, gives his opinion, and I have just as much training, background, maybe more, and more experience in film and video production than the guy that they present in this video as an expert. So I'm going to give you my assessment here tonight as well, because I have extensive experience in film and video production. I've been doing it since I was 9 years old. Anyway, here's the actual unedited, as they say, footage of the interview. Although I can tell you that the audio was removed, or so they say. Anyway, it was silent video that they were using, and then they put some music in. And well, let's just take a look at what this is. So I'm gonna turn the music down so we don't get a copyright strike. So here's the footage. Now, It's grainy, it's dark. You can really only see a head and a little bit of whatever is underneath, like the shoulders. What you're seeing there on the bottom, that's called time code. Those numbers. And that's used for video editing purposes. And you can synchronize that to an actual clock if you want to in the old video cameras of the day, or on the video recorders, the studio recorders that were also used as part of the editing process at the time. And what you're looking at here is Beta SP videotape. Now, back in those days, and I would say this was shot on professional Beta Cam SP gear, which was broadcast industry standard at the time. I would say that it might even have been shot. I don't think those are windows behind. Those are some sort of video monitors, which indicates to me this was probably shot in some sort of a studio. Those blue lights in the background. And that's the color that they would show up as if they were black and white monitors, which were quite common in studios back in those days, in production studios and in television stations. And then they're saying that the alien started to flag, was asphyxiating, couldn't breathe or whatever. So they had some medics on hand, and they come in and then they do this. They get in behind there and they start shining a flashlight in his face because it's so dark. And they shine the light right in his eye and then up his nose. It just looks to me, and this isn't so much from the video production angle of it, but what these medics are doing to me looks ridiculous. And then this guy kind of getting in front of the camera. There's supposed to be plexiglass there. It just looks so staged to me. And that does not look realistic to me at all. The other thing is, if you have what is supposed to be some sort of a important interview, let me pull this down, something that is so monumental at the time that, this would be historic, right? So you would think, wouldn't you, that they would provide at least some level of lighting? Back in those days, those Betacam SP broadcast cameras, they were called ENG cameras, which were because they were normally used for electronic news gathering, and they were used to produce programming just like that, straight to video stuff. But they were not very good in low light. And what you're seeing there is a situation where they've got a very carefully lit environment where they're putting enough light on the face to get proper exposure for the camera, but the rest of it's left in darkness so that you can't see the rest of the torso or the body. Now, I want to run this again, and I want to show you something when these medics come in. Take a look at this. You're going to see, watch very closely, right there. I'm going to slow this down. Let me just back this up. I want you to look at the head, shoulders, the torso area. You're going to see what I'm going to suggest to you is a human shoulder, a human arm. On your right, the alien, his left. wearing a t-shirt. Watch closely. It's slowed down. It'll become apparent. The light it'll pick up the light enough that you'll be able to make out what appears to be a human shoulder and arm underneath the alien head. We'll get to it here. Okay, so here they come. Right there. Look at that. So that's on the other side. And watch right here. He shines the light. I'll try to freeze the frame for you. You can see a little bit more of the torso there. And when the medic guy backs away and moves his head enough, you'll see the alien's shoulder, his left shoulder and arm. And you'll see what appears to be human skin right. I can see it right there. If you look very, very closely, you may not be able to see it at home very clearly. Let me bring up this full screen for you as much as I can. Right in that little thing there, I can see it more clearly on my end. But if you look really closely, and I'll let it roll a little bit more because it becomes, I think, more exposed as we move on. Right there. You can see that this guy has a shirt on, and that's his arm. That's an arm. A human arm. That's a human arm. That's what it appears to be to me right there. Look at that. That's very clear. Do you see? Look at the head. Now, move down. This is on the subject's left-hand side, so it's on the right side of your screen. Look at that shoulder, and then look at that arm. You see there's a shirt. He's wearing a shirt, and that is an arm, and then there's an elbow there, what appears to be an elbow. Because whoever is doing this appears to be sort of in a almost a leaning forward position. Let it roll a little bit further ahead. And you can see it very clearly there now. Now, maybe I'm wrong. That might be a hand. But in any event, it may be a hand. It could be the medic's hand or arm. But I'm not buying this. It's to shoot in those low light conditions with a camera like that back in that time period, you needed to use usually gain, but they lit it enough in the face, but not down below. And whether that's the medic's hand and arm or the shoulder of the subject, it's not entirely clear, but overall, this just looks staged. And to be recycling this now is just an exercise in opportunism, really. And it's been around for a long time. There's nothing new about this. And people laughed about it back in 97. It was entertainment. Now it's being presented as though it's supposed to be factual, that this was sent to me overnight because I said, show me an alien. And then somebody shared this link, and it was first on the redacted. It was the link to the redacted show. And I went, wait a minute, I kind of remember that. Then I went back, I found the documentary, I found it online. Here's the footage here. And I think, and even in the documentary itself, they have experts who sit there and say, I don't know if it's real. Even in the documentary back in 97, where they're presenting this as possibly a real telepathic interview with an alien. They have other experts in the video saying, don't know. That video shot on Beta SP. What is Beta SP? This is a VHS tape from back, everybody knows what these are. Everybody's seen VHS tapes, right? 240 lines of resolution. That's VHS. Beta SP is this. Remember Beta versus VHS? Well, this, on the broadcast side of things, Beta tapes won the battle. VHS won on the consumer side, but on the professional video side, Beta won. But not just regular Beta SP, Betacam SP became the industry standard. It was the standard for a long time. And in 97, this was still the most commonly used kind of broadcast medium. And back in the early 90s when this was originally shot. So this apparently was a copy of the original footage that was then presented to the producers of this documentary film by this Victor guy who made some sort of an agreement with a production company called Rocket Productions. Rocket Productions. How convenient. Fitting name for a production company that would produce something about an alien interview, right? So this was the standard at the time. You needed a fair amount of light to shoot in. If you were going to document something like this, and I was going to shoot that, I'd make sure that you had soft lighting and an adequate lighting in order to see the subject properly. Now, there's been some assertion here that the alien was sensitive to light, and so they had to keep it dimly lit. The whole documentary is dimly lit. Everything is shot like it's a horror movie or something. All the interviews, silhouettes, lighting from the bottom and the side to give you dramatic shadows on the faces and things like that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are no aliens. I don't know. I'm totally open to the idea that there could be aliens out there. I think that we would be kind of conceited to sit here and think as human beings that we're the only intelligent life anywhere in the entire universe. It's a big universe. Out there someplace, there's probably intelligent life. Does the government have real alien spacecraft? We're hearing testimony in what appear to be official proceedings that yes, they do. So while all that's going on, we've got a war raging. We've got Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and their business deals and possible lawsuits over there. We've got the whole thing going on with Trump. We've got all this stuff blowing up politically. The economy is not in the best of shape. All these different issues, and people are talking about the aliens. Not only that, you have a whole group or a big swath of the population that has been completely dissatisfied with government and the horrendous public health policies that were implemented during the pandemic. You have a whole bunch of people who have honestly lost faith completely in the competence of government, and some people even questioning the legitimacy of government. And now those very people who had all of these concerns about government and lockdowns and erosion of our rights, what am I seeing in the feeds? The social media feeds from the freedom groups and political and political groups. I'm seeing people, honestly, it's all about the aliens and similar kind of content. There was stuff in there about freaking Bigfoot. I'm not joking. So now, how are we going to protect our rights? How are we going to prevent people, these politicians, from doing it again if we're not even focused on the real problem? In my view, now, instead of focusing on constitutional rights and preserving them and the legalities surrounding that and trying to take this challenge forward in a legal way, maybe through lawsuits or whatever we have to do, nobody's even talking about that. We're talking about this. Aliens. And this being presented to us now, and redacted, they go pretty heavy on this kind of stuff, and fair enough, right? But to drag out old footage from 1997, I don't think that this is an intentional misdirection here. I think this is just people want to talk about this. Let's talk about it. So let's recycle this footage and bring this back out. And this Jon Stewart comes back on the scene, and he's been, doing interviews on live streams. Maybe we'll get him on the show and talk about it. I don't know. I don't really want to. I'm just trying to show people that everybody's now focused on weird other things that, you know what? Like, if there are aliens, fine. If there aren't, fine. I said the other night, show me the flying saucers or shut up. But to drag out footage shot on Beta SP from 1997 that's grainy, probably shot with 12 dB with, because you have to boost the gain because it's low light. I'm not even sure it was shot with gain. I'm pretty sure, actually looking at it, I don't think it has enough grain in it in those low light conditions. They've lit the face enough to get proper exposure there. They've done it intentionally, so you can't really see the torso. And the rest of it is shot so that it's all black. And they've adjusted the exposure on the camera that way to get you that exact effect. And then these two medics running in. And if this alien is so light sensitive, why are they taking a bright flashlight? And that's not even like a medic flashlight that, they shine in your eye to check the dilation of your pupils. This is like a big flashlight, and they're shining it right in the alien's giant eyes. Never blinks or anything, I noticed. They're shining it up his nose. What's wrong? Let's shine a light on his face. And it looks very dramatic. It just, no. No. Sorry. 240 lines of resolution. Let's show them the old footage. 340 lines of resolution. This is mini DV, 500 lines of resolution, about double what VHS is. It came out later. This is another broadcast tape format. It's also 500 lines. DVC Pro. It's actually exactly the same as mini DV consumer. Just to let you know that I know what I'm talking about. This is double the resolution, better quality than the old Beta SP at 340. And HD, full HD is 1080. That's 1,080 lines of resolution today, which is sort of broadcast standard. And if you go to ultra high definition or UHD, you're looking at over 3,000 lines of resolution. 3,840 to be exact lines of resolution on UHD. That's a big difference between that and this. And that's why that footage shot in low light is not really that clear. You've only got 340 lines of resolution. How convenient. It was the best there was at the time on the broadcast side, short of shooting on like cinematic film. But knowing how those cameras work, and if this was done by the government, you would think they would at least light it well enough so that they would have a good documentation of what would be a moment in history that needed to be preserved properly. And they had a controlled environment, and that's the best that we got. Not buying it. So, I mean, it's entertaining. Proves nothing. Except that that ain't a real alien. So I'm still where I was a couple of days ago. If you've got an alien and you have a UFO, show me. But show me something real. I'm open to it. But until then, I'm going to get back to worrying about real stuff. Like enjoying the day. Looking up at the blue sky. Not being afraid. Not worrying. Enjoying life. As I said to somebody just yesterday, just go out and enjoy the day. Don't worry about, it being the hottest July in 120,000 years. It's beautiful outside. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your freedom. Enjoy your life. It drives the globalists nuts. Absolutely nuts. Of course, there was this footage from back in the day. And you can, well, you know what? I've got this, actually, of this UFO. See if I've still got it. Here it is, right here. See that? See that UFO? Unidentified flying object. Recovered. How about that? Anybody ever see that UFO before? I'm just going to check the comments. Anybody see that before? I don't know. Anybody see that UFO before? I have actual aerial footage of that UFO in action. I do. Here it comes. That UFO looks kind of steampunk in style, doesn't it? Does to me. Here we go. Here's actual footage. That was, imagine seeing that thing flying around in the skies, especially back in like the 1940s. Because these things were airborne back in the early 40s. The Germans developed that. This is actual footage, dogfight footage. This was an experimental German aircraft at the time. And this was an engagement between Russian aircraft. And there it is right there. Do you see it? It's a flying wing. The most advanced aircraft of its day. And that was, if you'd seen that thing flying around, especially back in the 1940s, you would not know what that is. Even today, if a plane like that flies overhead, maybe at night, and it picks up light, and you see how it's like a triangular? Because that image I showed you, the wings were not on it. The part of the wings had been shaved off for whatever reason. There it is right there. You would say, what the heck is that? Where did that come from? That's not like a regular airplane. And it certainly wasn't back in the day. And even today, they're somewhat unusual. They're rare. You hardly ever see them. So if one of those things flew overhead, especially at night, you couldn't get a clear look. You could mistake that for a UFO. Well, it would be a UFO because it's an unidentified flying object. This thing got shot down, even though it was a jet, very fast, but two Russian aircraft at the time engaged it, and using dogfighting techniques, they were able to pull it into a trap and shoot it down. Pretty interesting stuff. And, you know, that's where a lot of the, I guess, folklore or the legends or the myths or the stories, the tales, there it goes. Crashed. Shot it down. And specifically, what is that thing? That is, I'll show you, a Horton HO-229. You can buy model kits of those things. Hobbyists do. And they have one of those things, I believe, at the Smithsonian. And there's that picture. A real thing. And as we've heard, you know, a lot of these UFOs or these sightings may simply be advanced aircraft developed by the U.S. military. Secret aircraft in the air. And that certainly would have been the case back in the 1940s with this aircraft before it went into production. And they never actually did put this into full production. If they had, there are some who say that it might have turned the tide of the war and the Germans might have won because it was so advanced at the time. The Germans had a lot of highly advanced aircraft and other weaponry. And then after the war, it was actually Canadians who went in and found a bunch of these experimental aircraft. And there are some stories that suggest some of that technology was brought back to Canada. And while there's been no proof, excuse me, presented to me to back this up, there are many, many people out there who think that there were places in Western Canada, in remote areas, where some of this technology was developed, and they actually produced experimental aircraft in Canada. And much the same thing people are suggesting took place in the US as well. How much of that went on? Probably quite a bit. And I'm certain they always have technology that they're experimenting with for military purposes, and they don't tell us about it. It's always kept secret because they don't want the enemy to get a hold of it. It's always going on. These things flying around up in the air may simply be that. Now, do they have aliens? Maybe. They have remains of aliens? Maybe. There was also that video from back in, I think, the 80s or 90s of the alien autopsy. But this was the kind of stuff that you used to read in, you know, the National Enquirer. And what was the other World Weekly News with Bat Boy and all the crazy stories, the stuff that they would just make up. This is that kind of stuff. But now it's being presented to us as though it's real. And real or not, until I see real proof, then, you know, I can't spend too much about it. And I can't put too much of my own personal energy into it. Maybe you want to. Maybe go ahead. It's entertaining, if nothing else. But when I see people so focused on this stuff that it's like all I get in the feed there is UFOs, aliens. What happened to the focus on protecting our rights? Nobody cares anymore, I guess. At least it's not as much of a concern. So maybe mission accomplished. Maybe they've distracted people so much that they've neutralized the political threat, because now everybody's chasing the aliens. Just saying. And now it's happening organically. I don't think Clayton and Natalie at Redacted are part of the psyop to try to distract you. I think that they're just talking about the stories that are top of mind for people. They're at the top of the news cycle, so this is the stuff they're talking about. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, I can't say that I'm buying the stories the way that Clayton is over at Redacted. He's all in on this, and he says he's researched this extensively, and he's totally convinced that aliens are real and these spacecraft are there. And, I've watched some of this stuff. I'm not there. Not anywhere near there. But you can make your own assessment. But if that's being presented, that alien footage is being presented to me as being real, no, sorry, man. I've been working with this stuff for a long time. I've been shooting video and film for a long time on all kinds of formats. I know how to light stuff. I know what it's all about, man. And I'm telling you, that's, to me, not convincing. In my professional opinion, that was produced. That is not real. That was staged. Like the entire documentary was. That was just a staged video, a portion of that documentary that was made to look more realistic than the other staged footage. There are other reenactments that was made to look like, they tried to make it look like it wasn't a reenactment, but it's just fake, in my opinion. You guys, I don't know. Do you guys buy it? Do you think it was real? I don't know. It says here. I don't know. Looks like maybe people are still focused on the Trudeau thing. Istabella says the aliens and the Hollywood elite and the pollutions, I mean politicians. Don't know what that means. I don't know. I don't know. Steve says, back to rights, Rick. What right is your right of association? Anyone now? I'm not really clear what that means. But yeah, I just think, to me, it's all about in Canada, Section 1 in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I've talked about that many times. But, if they want to, they can still come back and reimpose these mandates at any time. And a lot of other legislation is now in place that I think needs to be reworked or rescinded. We have more censorship now than we've ever had before. These are the real issues to me. But people are talking about aliens, and we're free to talk about the aliens, and that's okay. But I just think that people have kind of lost the focus, guys. That's just kind of what I'm observing. And I totally get why people get distracted or focused on these other things. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure that now people will probably send me more. Here's Isabella. She says, the alien needed it to be so dark because of migraines. Look at that noggin and no muscles to hold it up. He does have a big head. I guess that's why they have such a huge brains. And they're able to communicate telepathically. Interesting stuff. You want to go to the phones for a few minutes? Let's do that. Let's take a break. I'll get the phone lines set up. And you guys can call in and weigh in on this if you want. Or not. We can talk about the other stories too. You want to talk about JT and his divorce? Don't go away. We'll do that when we come back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others. out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm getting it all set up here. I'm punching all the buttons. There we go. Here is the number to call. It's all set up and ready to rock and roll. I'll be right back. If you want to talk to me, if you want to talk to the world, if you want to share your opinion, we'll give you a voice right here. We're all about free speech.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Okay, the phone lines are open. I'll put the number up on the screen as well so you know what number to call. Before I do that, though, just a reminder that you can support the channel and help pay for these phone lines, among other things, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. You can also donate through the Give, Send, Go over at maverickdonations.com. Either way, you can also contribute or donate through the Rumble rants on the Rumble channel. If you haven't subscribed over on Rumble, please consider doing that. Super important that we continue to grow over there. And we are. So things are progressing nicely over on Rumble. You can call right now at 1-833-975-3733 and join the conversation. And my goodness, we have a whole bunch of calls in the queue already. And here is Isabel. You go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah. So is this My Favorite Martian or is that Mork and Mindy?
Oh, I loved My Favorite Martian with Bill Bixby. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know what I like. I'm glad you called. What a great show that was.
That was a great show. He had his little antennas.
Yes.
That would pop up out of his head.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of the actor who played the Martian. Bill Bixby was his friend.
Yeah, and he played in another show.
Ray Watson.
Freddie's.
Yeah. Ray Watson. There he is there. I'll bring him up on the screen here so people can see his picture. If you guys don't remember My Favorite Martian or you're not familiar with it, well, you can find a few episodes on YouTube. And
yeah, there's not many.
I loved that show when I was a kid. I was just a huge
And didn't Bill Bixby go on to play Eddie's father?
Yeah, The Courtship of Eddie's Father. Yep. And
The Courtship of Eddie's Father.
Yes, and he also went on to play the Incredible Hulk.
Yes, he played the doctor, didn't he?
Dr. Banner, and it was Lou Ferrigno, who I met one time. Actually, I got to interview Lou Ferrigno, the bodybuilder, was the Hulk. They painted him up green.
Yeah.
Really nice guy.
I remember that.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
nice.
we're dating ourselves. Oh my God.
Oh, yes. Yeah, all the way back to like the 1950s, I think, is when My Favorite
Yeah,
Martian
black
was.
and white, right?
Yeah, I wasn't even alive in the 1950s, but
Yeah, I'm like,
I watched the repeats as a kid all through the 70s, and I still actually go back and watch that stuff even now because I
I
love it.
think we need, yeah, and I think we need to revert back to, I don't know, square one. Do I call it square one? Am I allowed to say that pronoun?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We've had this alien crap for so long. It's one diversion after another. Like, really, it's like them throwing out the fishing line with the bobber on it. Let's see what they link onto. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
You know, whichever one they call onto.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I was talking to some of the people in this little village that I live in, which is fantastic. But a lot of them are of the same mindset. It's like, when do we turn this around? Because like, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, everything that's going on is nuts. But they're not in the mindset of, we're going to overthrow the government. It's like, oh my God, like you hear the young people going, did you hear how hot it's going to be? And the older people are looking at each other going, what the hell? Where have you been?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen it 35 degrees, I've seen it 34 degrees, and it's never been, we're on fire, you know?
Yeah. It's now the age of boiling. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, the older generation, we kind of laugh because I can remember walking on the tarmac, and we used to call them thongs, but you can't call them that now. They're flip-flops.
Yep.
And they would stick to the tarmac because it was so hot.
Yep. Yep.
And if you were out playing and you tend to run, you ended up losing a flip-flop somewhere on the street because it stuck to the tarmac.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I don't
that.
buy all this either. Like, I remember as a kid, really extreme weather, huge snowstorms, much worse than we get now. I remember back in the 70s, a couple of them that were definitely worse than anything I've seen in recent years. High water levels, low water levels in the Great Lakes, two extremes I've seen, and I'm sure you have too, right? Like super hot summers and all of the things that we're talking about.
Well, I mean, it was like you would get the information from somebody who knew a farmer who followed the Farmer's Almanac, and they're going, watch these bugs because this is what's going to happen this year. And God, it happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I lived in Timmins for 5 years of my life when I first came to Canada from Scotland. And we had snowstorms where it would be like minus 45 was irregular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you brag to each other or try and goat each other into sticking their tongue on the post in the middle of the winter.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we were too stupid not to know any different.
Yep. Yeah.
But I mean, I seen snow to the point where we couldn't even open our front door to get out. And I remember my dad having to shovel a tunnel. We all thought, hey, snow day, no school.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember snows. We've got pictures from snowstorms back in the 70s where the snow was higher than the house in London, Ontario. And that's no word of a lie. And that's not like snowplow pushing it up on the snowbank kind of high. This was just like the front yard higher than the house.
Yep. In snowfall, not plowfall.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing. We lived in London. And our stop sign almost went missing.
Yep.
Because of the snowfall.
That's right. Yep.
And that was in the 70s. That would have been 75, 77.
Yeah. But now they say, now it's like, oh, we don't get as much snow. That's the climate change. Oh, then we get a harder winter. Like we had a few snowstorms here last year. And that's the climate change. It's like, it doesn't matter what it does. They just point to it and say that this is the
Yeah.
worst ever. And today there was a news conference out in BC about the wildfires, and they just stood up there and declared it, to be the result of climate change. And I'm like, well, yeah, yeah.
It makes us who have seen these in the years and accepted it as Mother Nature's way of rejuvenating the earth or making you thankful for the years where you didn't get so much snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the younger generation's never seen that. And that's the problem. They're erasing all this and they're intervening with outrageous and where the world's on fire. And I'm like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, that's
come on.
that's why I said to this person that I was, chatting with, I said, they were concerned about some things. And I said, you know what? Like, I was outside today and the sky was blue and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And when I go for a stroll around the block at night with my dog, I see fireflies and the grass is green and it's a nice, calm, beautiful night, beautiful weather. I'm so comfortable. I'm like, just hug your kids, embrace the day, enjoy life, and it'll drive the elites and the globalists nuts because you're not scared crapless.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, they try to, and they're doing it with the younger generation. They're pumping them up into fear. And then, of course, the younger generation looks at you and go, well, you're old, so you don't know anything. You don't understand this. And it's like, wait a minute here. We've been around the block a few times. We've seen this happen before. It gets better, but you're thankful for the better. Even if it gets worse with the weather, it gets better.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong. Yes, today was a beautiful day, and I have two little dogs. One's 11 pounds, one's 5 pounds. And just to get them out and go around the block, the sky was beautiful. There was no doubt about it. Gorgeous. And it's a way to relieve the anger that I have with JT. And what we're doing.
Right.
But I don't get boisterous, but I can talk to people in the village here. And a lot of people are really upset. And they are not on his side.
No. I
but
get that.
We're not out, thumping and screaming and.
Yeah, I mean,
it's,
if you want to win, you have to keep your head clear, develop good strategies, get in there and affect real change, right? But if you're busy chasing red herrings, and I think people know what I mean by a red herring. It's like you're chasing, like chasing your tail. And you're not going to get anywhere. So focus on the real things. Focus on things that you can actually have an impact on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if they see that, okay, you're doing all this shit, but it's not irritating as enough yet. Maybe he thinks he's winning. I'm upset though with he's doing to the farmers here what they did to the Dutch farmers.
Yeah. No question about it.
Me.
I think that's a serious issue, and we should be focused on that. We should be focused on all of these things that can affect our lives and the future and our kids' lives, and try to affect political change that way. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for going to the farmers to get my meat, go to the fruit stands and the vegetable stands when they have the farmers market. I don't know what I'm buying in the chains anymore. So if I'm skeptical, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. I'm very careful about looking at the ingredients and packaging I try not to buy any processed foods anymore. Because, you just really, you do not know what they're putting in stuff, right?
And they're changing the wording so you can't read that it's cricket.
Yes,
So they're
I guess
changing the word.
Yeah. I have seen
I'm not gonna go home and
packaging where they've identified like edible crickets as listed as an ingredient on actual foods, processed
Yep.
foods. So look at your labels, folks, lest you're gonna be eating the bugs.
And there's another one I found out too, and this woman had said, check your check your chocolate for this ingredient, and it comes in different versions, but apparently it comes from the anal gland of a beaver. So I looked it up. Yep. And it is a food ingredient, and it does come from the anal gland of the beaver.
Nice.
But
So
the
you have
beaver
to be,
that swims in the water.
I'm so hungry I could eat the blank out of a beaver. Oh my
I'm
God.
like, oh, okay.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I said before I wouldn't eat shit. I really mean I'm not going to eat shit.
Oh. Oh my God.
But it is in some chocolate ingredients. And I'm like, wow. And I even found out in the cream, there is an ingredient in the 10% cream you put in your coffee
Yeah.
that it is known as a cancer-causing agent.
Mm.
I thought, oh, great. So there goes my coffee.
Yeah. So what is it? Is it like a whitener kind of a product, or is it a cream?
It's a thickener that's in the cream.
Oh, okay.
And it's only certain, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's only certain companies that use it.
I see.
And one of the companies that I always patronized was Chapman's because it was Canadian, but it has it in its ice cream.
Oh, do you know what the name of the?
And it's known to cause colon cancer.
Really? What's it called?
It is, oh, what's the name of it? And I thought, oh my God, it's known to cause colon cancer, and it's known to cause bloating. Now I'm going to read the package here because I have the Chapman's, but now I can't eat it. And I love Chapman's, and I thought, oh my God. So it is, oh, what is the ingredient here? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but what is
Carrageenan?
Carrageenan. That's what I found here on the internet too. Yeah. Yeah, and I see that there's some concerns that it can cause digestive issues, possibly colon cancer, possible link to that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
oh, there goes my Chapman.
Amazing what
and it is in
what's out there.
It is in some I'm not sure if it's the Steel Test cream or the Nielsen's cream, but one of them, Nielsen's cream has it. 10% cream.
Well,
I'm like,
I did not know that there was a potential link to colon cancer from that product, that ingredient.
No, and I was telling my daughter because she has Crohn's.
Yeah.
Severe Crohn's, and she is like a 15 coffee drinker cup a day.
Holy smokes.
With 10% cream. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And she even takes like a 12-ounce carry tumbler to bed. When she goes to bed at night, I'm like, what, so do you wake up in the middle of the night and drink your coffee, or what do you do? She goes, no, I have to have it to go to bed. Coffee? Now, I can coffee and go right to sleep. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
What bothers me is the Carrageenan. Yeah, that's scary shit they've been doing to it.
Wow.
And we don't even know, right? They don't link it on there with any kind of beware.
Right.
And same thing with the toothpaste. They say if you swallow the toothpaste, you have to contact the CDC right away.
Really? Toothpaste?
It's on the tube.
Seriously?
Yep, it's on the tube.
Well, maybe it, yeah.
Seriously. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to swallow it, but
it is poisonous. And they're saying anything that has a blue derivative in it is a petroleum product.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, great. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So whatever dye or whatever they're using in the toothpaste to make it blue is potentially carcinogenic?
Yep. I
Wow.
have been staying out of the rabbit hole, but finding these bits and pieces from people that have been putting it out there.
Yeah.
And then I go and do the research, and I'm like,
Oh, sure. Because there are a lot of food additives and things that they do with food and healthcare products that really are not good for you. Like aluminum in deodorants and things, it's really not good for you. And aluminum has been linked to Alzheimer's disease. There's no question about that stuff. You know, it's a matter of exposure and your sensitivity as an individual and all of these other factors. But it's a real problem. No doubt about it.
Yeah, another one that's really bad for us is it PEP? It's called PEP 5, which is also a carcinogen, which is in body wash.
Yeah. A lot of the soaps and fragrances and healthcare, like grooming products, that's a lot of chemicals used in that stuff, all kinds.
Yeah.
In fact,
An awful lot of stuff.
my wife goes to the nail salon sometimes, and I've gone over there to buy her a gift certificate once in a while, like around Christmas and stuff. You go in those places, man, and like that is toxic air in there.
You can't breathe. I used to be a hairdresser, and with the ammonia and I'm allergic to peroxide. So with ammonia and the peroxide and the hair dyes, and we used to do the perms in the old days, and my eyes would burn. And I used to say, how do people they get their hair bleached, and you look at their scalp, it's almost burnt, and then they put a dye on it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so you're paying for this, but I have to wear gloves to work with this stuff. Like, kind of makes me wonder what it. And I developed allergies. I got dermatitis, so I had to quit hairdressing. But walking in there, you almost need an oxygen mask.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For all the chemicals.
That's toxic stuff. I know how to paint cars, right? That's one of the things that I kind of do just myself, not professionally, but the chemicals that are in a lot of those, well, the fumes that are given off, the carcinogens, right? The isocyanates, things like that. Like a lot of those same fumes come off like the nail polish that they use in the nail salons and the acetone. And you go into those places and the air is just thick with chemicals and not proper ventilation. And I feel bad for the people working in there. That's as bad as working in like an automotive paint place almost. Some of the automotive paints are
with no
more
covering.
Toxic, but no charcoal masks, nothing.
It's like walking into an automotive spray shop and you've got no mask or no nothing on, and you're breathing the fumes.
Oh, you're dead, man, if you do that. Like really, because it's not just the particulates; it's the chemicals, right? And you absorb that, you breathe that stuff in, it'll kill you. Oh yeah, you'll get cancer for sure.
I mean, even working in a place like that, even like you absorb it through your skin, your eyes, your ears, you're even just not just breathing. Everything else gets it, because I go in there sometimes and come out, my eyes are like, oh my God, I feel like I've been up 3 days in a row. My eyes are burning.
That's the stuff we need to be worried about. People are focused on, climate change and I don't know, just all these other things that I think are largely more inconsequential than like heavy exposure in a place like that. People can, I think, you can really, again, that's something you can really control yourself to limit your exposure or eliminate it altogether if you choose to. If you're aware and you're thinking about it, I'm a lot more worried about walking into that nail salon than I am walking around the block breathing in the air that's outside.
I mean, for sure. But I think people really need to take a step back, read your ingredients, because you'd be shocked what you're eating. And I was shocked. I was literally shocked, and I'm like, so I'll stand at the grocery store with my readers on, and if I don't have my readers, I snap a picture of it and enlarge it so that I can read what the ingredients are, and people are looking at me, and I'm like, if you only knew what was in that.
100%. Listen, Isabel, we're going to move on because I've got calls stacked up here. Thank you so much for calling in tonight.
I appreciate you taking my call, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And
Right.
we'll stay out of the rabbit hole and walk the doggies.
Okay. I loved this conversation. It was fruitful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I thank you very much. Have
All
a
right.
good night.
All right. See you. Okay, sir, you're on the air. Go ahead.
You got the mouth of the South, the man without a plan to master all your disasters, Rick, coming to you. Want to hear a good one?
I do.
I went home, dropped the wife off, and I went grabbed my son and my son-in-law, and I'm back in the Bay of Fundy.
Good for you. How's your vacation going, sir?
You know what? Great. I left last night at 7 p.m. I was in Quebec City looking for French toast in old Quebec City. French toast with bacon and real maple syrup with my son and my son-in-law by 7 a.m. So I'm all situated now. I watched the tide. I'm having fun. I'm eating so much seafood, I think I'm going to get scurvy. Scurvy, Rick.
Well, that's what Pierre Poilievre said yesterday, that the economy is so bad they're seeing a resurgence in scurvy because people can't afford to buy enough fruits and vegetables to get their vitamin C.
Well, I'm going to eat my fruits and vegetables. Don't you worry about that. My garden's looking good. I was listening to your show yesterday, and I kind of like the Crazy Rick when it comes out. You know, I do. You're just letting off the way you feel, and I love it. You know what I mean? When you got people say what they want to do. Well, let's move on to the Trudeau thing. You see that little lump on his forehead there.
Yeah.
Obviously came from his old lady.
Yeah.
Okay, Sophie knuckled this shit out. She had enough, right? So as soon as I seen that lump, I knew what it was, because even me, the mouth, I've even ran my mouth around my wife, and she don't put up with that shit. She gave me a knuckle sandwich one time, right? And I ended up with one of those forehead divots, right? So I knew as soon as I seen that, I went, "That's a knuckle. That's a knuckle mark, man. I know knuckle marks, right?" So
I shouldn't be laughing, but I can't help it.
I think it's funny. I do. I really do. It looks good on him, right?
Yeah.
For him, what has he done? As for Poilievre, I'm really, I don't know, man. I know he wants to lock people up forever and ever and ever and ever, but who's going to pay for that? We don't have any more money, right? So when he starts breaking his promises, he's going to be in the same boat as JT, and it's probably a lot faster than you think.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, because he's the last hope. People are putting him as the last hope. Okay, well, I don't know what the solution is. Really, I don't. I don't think there is a solution. How about mine for gold, pay off the debt, start a gold mine. That's whatever. Okay, diamond mine. We have all the minerals. We have everything that we need is here in Canada.
That's not a
Sell
bad
it.
solution you just came up with there. Yeah, just go get the gold.
I think it's a great solution.
Yeah.
Right, go get the gold. There's mines. Okay, we got a lot of gold in this country. We got a lot of everything. You name it. Name the mineral. It's there. Okay. Now the government should take control of a mine and use that to pay off the deficit, pay off the debt.
I hereby declare a campaign. Leo for Prime Minister. You've just come up with the solution.
No, that'll never happen, because you know what? I just couldn't lie to the people. I couldn't, and that's what these guys do. And at the end of the day, they're all a bunch of liars. Okay, even Pierre,
Yeah.
he don't have a real plan, right? That's scary, because I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah.
But as soon as he starts breaking the promises, okay, and I mark my word, he's going to break promises. He wants to. Okay, he wants to whatever. Okay, his prison reform. I get it. Believe me, I think there's a lot of people in this country that should be locked up for the rest of their lives. They keep throwing away.
Yeah.
Okay, get hard on justice, but where's the money going to come from? Are you going to raise taxes? No, because you said you're not going to raise taxes. You're going to cut taxes, right? So where's the money going to come from just for that one? Never mind all the other spending that's going to happen.
Well,
it just don't stop.
In Canada's case, because the taxation level is as high as it is, if you look at a Laffer curve in economics, if you cut taxes, you may actually end up with more revenue to the government because it will increase productivity.
Well, you know what? I'm a hustler. I can make a buck from nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched my videos when I came home with those coolers filled with lobsters, 50 pounds of crab legs, you name it, halibut, cod, everything in the ocean. I'm buying it right now. Okay. I'm back here in this town for that reason also, not only just to spend time with my son-in-law and my son, but I'm here to make some business transactions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, my social media blew up the messaging. Oh, I'll take a box of lobsters. Okay. That's $650 a box. Guess what? Guess what I'm doing? I'm buying all the lobsters in this town. And I'm buying the crab. I'm buying I no word of a lie, Rick.
Good for
Watch
you.
the next video that comes out. Right? So I'm not gonna, if it pays for my trip, it pays for my trip. I already know it's gonna pay for my trip. You know,
Smart.
the orders are that
That's
stacked.
good.
My truck is not big enough, right? And the way that I pack it, okay, because I'm 20 hours away from my home, okay, they give you the cooler packs, the gel packs, okay, that just keeps it cool. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I go into Moncton and I go buy dry ice from Pax Air, and I throw a cup of dry ice, a couple cups of dry ice in the coolers. And by the time I get home, that shit's frozen. It's like nitrogen. When I open the boxes, you can see the gases come off it, right? The CO2, it's frozen solid, right? Even the gel packs are frozen solid. So I can move you the fish. Give me a call if you need some fish. You like lobster, Rick?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Well, your next lobster dinner's on the mouth of the South, buddy. You just got to come to Windsor and pick them up.
Okay.
Better yet, I'm driving back Sunday. Meet me on the 401 because I got to cross by Chatham, right? Obviously,
Okay.
to get home.
Yeah.
Meet me on the 401. I'll hook you up. What else you like? You like all seafood?
Oh yeah. 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 My wife loves that stuff.
You like cod? You like halibut? You like haddock?
Love haddock. Yeah. I eat it almost like 4 or 5 times a week, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you?
I do. I
It's
eat tons
cheap down
of
here right
it.
now.
Yeah.
It's cheap down here right now. Scallops. Here you go. Scallops. In Windsor, scallops, $31 a pound. I can get them here for $13 a pound.
Whoa.
And they're the size of toonies. They're bigger than toonies, okay? They're the biggest scallops I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you
Okay, so
you
I get the
definitely hook me up with some haddock and some lobster, and I'll meet you on the.
There you go.
401
You
and
got
we'll
it.
Do it. Yeah.
You got it on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday, bro. You know what? Just meet me. I'll call you. You call me because the number I got's for this line. Okay, you call me Sunday or text me Sunday.
Yep.
We'll meet on the 401. Lobster dinner's on the mouth, my friend.
All right. Cool.
You and your wife have lobster. Okay, you got it. It's gonna be fresh.
Okay.
That's the key. Okay, I watch these guys here pull the fucking. I videotape them pulling the lobster off the boats. I'm there. I'm buying it. That's what I'm doing. You know, I got a couple weeks off of work, so I'm gonna hustle, right?
Awesome. Yeah. Good for you. That
That's
sounds
it.
like an exciting trip you're on, man.
So it is. You know what? It is. Like I started last night, and I went through all the cities. I went through to get to where I'm at now in Alma in the Bay of Fundy. I went through all of them, man. Quebec City, Edmundston, okay, the border of New Brunswick, Fredericton, St. John's, Moncton. Okay, so I've seen all the big cities in New Brunswick, right? I don't have to go any further. I could see where I'm sitting right now. I can see Nova Scotia. That's how clear the sky is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's dark right now, but an hour ago I could see Nova Scotia from where I'm at. So it's actually a cool thing to do. If you've never done it, jump in the car. You and another driver or whatever. Okay, anybody out there listening, jump in your vehicle. It's a 20-hour drive from Windsor, Ontario. If you're in that area, southwestern Ontario, get a second driver. One of you sleep for 10 hours, whatever. The other one drives, wakes up, boom, you're here already. You know what I mean? You don't miss any time. You're here in a day.
That sounds great. Well, listen, we better move on. I got lots of calls tonight, so I better get to
See you Sunday, Rick.
You betcha, sir. I will see you then. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
And we've got Charlotte up next, I believe.
Hello?
Hello. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I was just waiting and waiting. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I'll go back outside where my phone won't disconnect.
Okay.
So what I was going to say about Trudeau is you heard it from me first that I think he wants to be the first female prime minister.
Okay.
Now that might be shocking.
Okay, you just kind of made me pause there. You almost left me speechless. But then I thought, maybe he could be.
Well, I think you heard it from me first. That's what I think.
It's
As soon as
true.
they heard it,
That's true. You heard it from you
we
first.
don't know.
Well, breaking news.
I'm surprised nobody else thought of this.
Breaking news. Justin Trudeau is going to be Canada's first. Well, actually, he would be the second female prime minister. Kim Campbell.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it wouldn't be so important to them.
Yeah.
Well, his first. Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong there, but I still think that he has that in mind. Everybody's saying that he's going to come out as something, but I think that he's actually going to come out as a woman.
Okay.
And
we'll see. We will.
And
see.
also, I wanted to say about the demons. I mean, the aliens.
The aliens, yeah.
Well, I think they're demons. I don't know. Like I'm just saying that I don't believe in aliens. I do believe in demons.
Okay.
So that's my thought on that, and I'm not going to hold you up. I
All right.
sat out here and watched the bats go by for the first two callers, which were great. And I love your show, and
thank you.
Keep on going.
All right. Okay? You have a great night.
Well, nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
You did hear your ear first.
Okay. All right. I won't hold you to it, but a good prediction. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right, let's move on to who is it that we have on the line? It says, is it Marcia? I'm not sure. I got a bunch of names. Hello, how are you tonight?
I am. Is that me?
It's you.
Oh, okay, Raphael.
Yeah.
Rick, my thing is that alien thing in front of the Senate. That means people all over the world. I'm talking about like Asia, Africa, South America, the Caribbean. That means people are laughing at you guys, at the United States, because this thing is not making any sense at all.
I know.
And people are asking themselves, what is going on? Rick, there is nothing scientific about what these people were saying. That means, first of all, they assume that those creatures will be carbon-based. The body will be carbon-based material like we are. Mm-hmm. That's not gonna happen. There is a reason why we are the way we are on Earth. That's the only way we could live here. They got the alien standing. These people are coming from different galaxies.
Yeah.
If they get here. So they're not gonna have bones. The only reason we are born on Earth is because of gravity. Because the way we eat, the way we are fed, the way we can eat is gravity fed, because we eat from our mouth and gravity brings the food down. Rick, if somebody grab you, turn you upside down, and let you stay there, you're gonna die. If somebody turn you upside down and let you stay there for a long period of time, you cannot eat, you cannot do anything. Your blood will not be able to circulate because you will be upside down. You cannot live upside down, because the only way any kind of human being, any kind of fish, any kind of thing that is living on this planet, whether they are in water, anything, whether in the air, anything, they have to be up. They got to be upside. They have to be upside. I mean, their feet has to be touching the ground.
Yeah.
There is a reason why the minute you go on space, your bones become your worst enemy. Because the minute you go on space, that's like if you go to the moon, there is a reason why those people lose bone density. What does that mean, lose bone density? Your bones are disappearing. So if you stay on space for a long time, you're not gonna have bones. I mean, it's
true.
It's amazing how these people. I'm gonna tell you, the rest of the world is looking at you, looking at us. Even though I live here and I'm a U.S. citizen, but what I want people to understand is we are panicking. And we are acting like a bunch of child. Yes, we are losing. We are losing. We made a mistake. We did not know Russia was that powerful. We let people convince us to start that thing. We thought like within a few months, once we put those sanctions, Russia gonna collapse. We're gonna go over there and we're gonna take everything Russia has. We made a mistake, and now Russia is standing tall. We are panicking, and we are coming out with all those nonsense that everybody is looking at us, and they be like, what the hell is going on with these people? And my question to you before I leave, because I like to ask you those questions.
Mm-hmm.
How come a country that has Harvard University, that has like all those Ivy League, that has California, those schools in California, like what's
like
that big school
MIT,
in California? Berkeley,
Berkeley,
in Boston, Berkeley, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
How come all those intellectuals, nobody stand up and said, "This is too far, guys. Stop it"? Why nobody is saying that? Thank you, Rick.
Good question. I don't really have an answer. I just think that I think what's going on right now, it's not really clear what the objective is, what the motivation is. I'm like you. I'm really trying to make some sense out of this. It's pretty clear to me that, like I said, that we're no closer to real answers or real truth right now than we were before this started a few weeks ago. And it doesn't feel to me like we're really pursuing truth here. It's more like some weird political thing going on. And that's why it's like this is all happening politically, right? It's not scientists coming forward saying, look at this, we've got this. It's the intelligence community, it's the military, it's Congress, it's politicians. And as I said earlier this week, if the aliens are really around and they, they'll just present themselves to us. They'll land their UFO in Times Square, get out and say, howdy, Earthlings. We're here to, to party with you. I don't know, but why does it have to come from Congress? It probably, if we have a revelation like this, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think the politicians will be telling us. It's not going to be Joe Biden making an address saying, hey, aliens are real now because I said so. Right? Hello, how are you tonight? Who do we have on the line?
It's Richard.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good. I'm calling from the United States, Alabama.
Okay.
Do you believe in Bigfoot and the guy was one before me talking about the UFO stuff? Do you believe in that? 100%?
No, I don't really. No.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you two stories. One's a Bigfoot story, and one's a UFO story.
Okay.
Which one do you want to hear first?
Well, I like Bigfoot because we've been talking so much. I kind of want them both. So let's start with a Bigfoot, and then we'll get your UFO story.
Okay, Bigfoot. I was 16 years old. Me and my daddy were doing security work at this. They building a little town. Never did this. And me and my daddy was out there, and then another guy was out there watching the big fire break. Big old fire. The piles of lumber, wood was on fire. When they cleared the land off, building this town. And there was an old house right across the street. And we was watching fire break. And this, everybody down here in Alabama call him skunk ape. I call him Bigfoot. And he walked across the road, and this is 100% true. He slumped over, walked across the road. He was walking like a bear, but he was on his 2 feet, bent over. He was going across the road, and I couldn't see his face, but I seen his 2 arms, his 2 legs. We got across the road, you could smell like repair rotten eggs in the sewage. And I seen his butt crack hair it was real long and it's silver. And this is a true story. And my daddy and then my friend were gonna shoot the monster, Bigfoot. I told him, don't do it. He's a primate. And the people have been seeing this creature in several different places in Alabama.
Okay.
Cause we live right on the national forest, the mountain, like the Smoky Mountains, the mountain chain. We live right close by the mountain chain.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
the UFO. The UFO story is.
Why did you want to? Why did you want to shoot Bigfoot? Why did you want to shoot him?
My friend wanted to, and I told him no.
Yeah, don't
absolutely
shoot.
not.
Yeah.
No.
Good call.
And that's 100% true story. 100% true. And I was 16 years old at the time. On this other story, I'm gonna tell you, I was 21 at the time. This was back in 1998 and 94. Also, there's 3 different times I've seen 3 different UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
One was 98. I was going fishing one night with my friend. Passed away now. He was like in his 70s. He had COPD and all this emphysema. He had one of old 1960 model trucks got the shifter on column. They get shift on the column. And we was going down this 2-lane road, and there's a cow pasture in the face field on both sides of the road, and a horse arena. Well, this flying saucer UFO, and it was hovering right above the field. It had red, blue, green, purple, and white lights. White lights was up underneath and had all different colors around on the outside, and it was silver. We got up to our truck completely shut off. We rode past the flying saucer, and our truck cranked up, and the flying saucer took off. And that's 100% true. And I called the police.
What color lights did it have?
It had red lights, blue lights, green lights, and purple lights going in a circle. And it had four white lights up underneath it. Solid white, and it was silver, flying saucer.
And it flew away?
It flew away, and it was hovering right above the face field.
When it flew away, could you hear like a motor or anything like that? Or
No, I didn't hear nothing. It didn't make no sound or nothing. It just shot off in there real quick. Like a shooting star. That's how fast it was going.
Like no jet wash from it or anything like that?
No, nothing. This was at night.
Yeah.
It was about 12 o'clock at night. I was going fishing with my friend at a local lake where we got a lot of water from. During that night, I caught a 32-pound blue cat. Then I bought me a boat later on in life.
Yeah.
when I got back in 2001, 2002. And me and my dad bought a boat. I took him fishing all the time. And I seen another one up on the lake fishing.
Hmm.
And it's just so weird. So weird.
You've seen 2
When I was growing
UFOs in your
up,
life.
right. When I was growing up, you can look online, Politics News, and they had reports out back in the early, late 70s. Before I was born, I was about 13, 14 years old, and I had 2 UFO sightings when I was about 13, 14. And it's in the same time period.
Interesting. So you've seen Bigfoot and 2 UFOs in your life.
Right. Now I'm 52 years old. It's just been 52 in 2 months.
Well, you're 3 up on me because I've never seen a UFO or a Bigfoot, but I'm pretty sure my dog's an alien. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have.
And Las Vegas, and that story you can Google it. Las Vegas story.
Yeah.
And those UFO sightings had aliens. It was on the news, and people seen aliens walking on the road.
Interesting.
And you can Google it right now, and it'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I've seen the reports. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And my dad was in the service and all that, and all the UFO stuff is absolutely true.
So we kind of got to wrap up for the night, but just tell me something. What do you make of all the testimony that we've been seeing and these so-called whistleblowers? What do you think is going on? Why are they bringing this information forward now?
Because they want people to know. So it was classified back in the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad was in the military, and he told me about Roswell crash out there in Roswell.
Yeah. So you think that they think the time has come to tell the public? So why don't they just show us?
Yep. They just want people to know. They just, I don't know. They just want, oh no, I'm like you. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to go this far, why don't they just show us if they have it?
Right.
Well, I don't have an answer.
Yeah.
Strange times, though. I'll tell you that. And you talk about, we heard that people, if they're upside down, they'll die. But I'll tell you,
I'm an eyewitness of it. I got proof of it.
Yeah. Do you have proof? You say? What kind of proof do you have?
Proof of it. I got video and pictures.
You've got videos and pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Can you share those, or did you post them online anywhere? Or what do you have?
Old Tony, you remember the videos on the real videos?
Yep.
That's what we got it on. My friend, he passed away.
You mean like film? You have film,
right? Mm-hmm.
Like what kind of film? Like Super 8mm film or something?
It's like a 2mm film.
16mm film, 8mm film.
I think it's 8mm, something like it.
Is it like little tiny thin stuff, or the bigger stuff?
Yeah. The little tiny stuff.
Yeah, that's the Super 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have projectors and stuff here.
Yeah, you have to put on film on a projector.
Yeah.
Like ones in the classrooms projecting them.
Oh, that size? That's 16mm.
Yeah. So we had wind up camera.
Okay.
You wind it up and make videos of it.
Yeah. Well, the wind-up cameras were 8, but some 16 too. But have you transferred it to video, or you just still have it on film?
And the film decayed. The film was decayed. Film dry rotted. So we didn't have no dry place, nothing.
Yeah. So you still have the film, or do you have it on video, or do you have it at all?
I don't know where it's at now.
Oh,
I have no idea where it's at.
I see. Well, if you come across it, I'd love to see it. And if you need it transferred to
will.
video, I have all the
if I can
equipment right
find it.
here. I can transfer it to video.
Okay.
I have all the gear. I do that here.
All right.
So
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in seeing
I
your
watch
UFO
you. I
footage.
watch your show all the time. I watch your show all the time.
Well, thank
Every
you.
other day I watch your show.
Appreciate it.
I just got my new job, and I got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
Cool. What's your new
Yeah, I
job?
work at a thrift store.
A thrift store?
Working at the thrift store, taking in donations.
That's great.
8 hour shift.
Oh, good for you.
$15 an hour.
Hey, that's all right. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, listen, sir, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I appreciate it. If you do come across that film, you give me a call, and we'll get you hooked up.
I will.
We'll
Hey, my email is rfd1977gmail.
Okay. Well, you've got my number there, and you can always reach us too through the website at
Yeah.
mavericknews.ca or mavericknewschannel.com. And if you are so inclined, you get a hold of me. If you find that film, I will transfer it to video for you, no charge, as long as you let us share it with everybody here on the show.
Yeah, no problem. I'll let you share anybody you want to.
Yeah, we'll digitize it for you, and then you'll have it forever.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate talking to you.
Been a
No, and I
pleasure.
got to get in the bed.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a great
have
night.
a good night.
You too.
Have a
See
good
ya.
night.
Okay.
You too.
Bye for now.
All right. Bye.
And with that, we're going to wrap up for the night. If you are so inclined, you can support the show by donating at maverickdonations.com or freedomreporters.com. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell on YouTube, subscribe over on Rumble. And share the links for the YouTube and Rumble channels out on Facebook or other social media. Just share the links, copy the URL, and share. If you can do that, that'd be fantastic. Help the channel a lot. Help us expand and grow here just a little bit. And we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same station. Well, actually, not the same time because we got a late start tonight. But I should be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you all then on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia Productions.